Excuse me, we're just going to be a few minutes delayed starting because the live stream, she's not able to get it to connect, so she's on the phone with somebody trying to help her, so we'll start shortly. Testing, testing. Testing.
I don't hear anything.
No sound? Okay, we're good? You're all set? Okay. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Sorry for the delay on the start, but I'm pretty sure we want this meeting to stream, so we figure we better get that sorted out. So I realize there's lots of you, and not everybody's in the room, so we'll try and speak as loud as we can so that the microphones carry as well as they can. Before we begin, there's an announcement section, and I have decided that for this evening, the best way to use the announcement section is to answer some of the questions we've already received and explain some of the concerns we've already received. And about 5 or 6 more items in. There is questions from the public, so we will take those if this doesn't answer those questions. So bear with me. I've got some things to say first, and then we'll carry on and we'll get to the question portion. Okay. So I've decided to use this time to address some of the concerns residents have raised regarding the emergency preparedness bylaw we've been discussing at meetings as far back as May when we began discussing the Emergency Measures Committee. We will attempt to address any questions we get that come this way this evening if I haven't answered them in the explanation. I will start off by saying that we're not required to pass and acknowledge an emergency preparedness bylaw. What I mean by that is that there is one municipality for certain in this region, there could be others, we didn't ask everybody, that simply adopted their emergency plan and moved on. We could have done that. And in doing so, the Provincial Emergency Measures Act by default applies to the municipality in the event of an emergency, meaning everything listed in our bylaw would still apply, and we could have just said nothing and carried on. Or we could have simply passed a bylaw that would follow the provincial act and nothing more, meaning whatever is written in the act is what we would follow, and again, by default, what we have to follow, and we cannot change anything in it as far as language goes. We chose instead to have our own bylaw. The reason for this was transparency and the ability to be flexible with the language. There is nothing in our bylaw that gives us more power than the provincial act, but now we can and have discussed modifying the language in ours to define things more clearly. For example, an emergency. We have discussed giving it a broader definition, and we can discuss that more in a minute. The point is that we are going about this the most transparent way possible. If we were trying to hide anything, we'd have done nothing but adopt an emergency plan and never said anything about a bylaw or the Emergencies Act and just carried on. So the act that already applies to you would still be in effect and no one would be the wiser, but we chose not to do that. We, even when pressed by some of the folks that are probably in this room about not wanting the bylaw, we could have said, okay, we won't adopt it and carried on with all the same things that are in our bylaw by default still being in effect. We chose instead to welcome the feedback and the attendance at this meeting for a discussion on this topic. I just want to make that point clear. Next, I want to talk about modifying the language. I mentioned previously we had discussed giving emergency a broader definition. Here's the catch. I will use an example that we've obviously already thought of, but it will make it easier for me to explain it. Let's say we said that a bombing was an emergency, but we didn't define it as an explosion. Then we had an explosion that didn't involve a bomb. In theory, our bylaw doesn't include that as an emergency. It takes 3 public meetings to update a bylaw, and that must be done over a period of time with the meetings being advertised to the public. The point is that in being clear, we may end up inadvertently tying our hands by leaving out a word or a type of incident. And in that instance, we would have to ask the province to step in and declare a state of emergency, explaining why we couldn't do it ourselves. So while we understand your concerns about definitions being broad, we recognize that there could be issues with defining them. Sorry, I lost my place. As such, we've discussed modifications, but haven't yet confirmed that they're going to make things better. Do you have, is that working?
Yep, I can have it in just a moment, yes. Is it this?
Sorry, guys,
Can the volume be turned up in the room?
I don't think the volume can be turned up. We're as loud as we can go, eh?
Yeah.
Just reconvene at another time where we can be arranged for an area where most people can be present, like an auditorium or something? Is there nothing saying we can't reconvene at another date?
I
don't see
I mean-
anything in there that can
I guess I'm not saying we can't.
I think you're saving yourself a lot of hassle, because a lot happens in here, and you're gonna have to do everything you did here all over again for them.
It's not a public hearing.
So, okay, so, guys, we're trying to explain to you how this goes, but we can't cancel a council meeting and just hold it another day because,
That's why I said you keep it open and reconvene on another time at another date.
okay, but can I finish? Is that okay? Okay, so our procedure doesn't allow for us to just stop a council meeting and have it another day. So I guess I'm trying to explain to you, I'm trying to explain why we're doing this and what it is we're doing. I'd like to see us proceed, and those that can't hear could maybe watch it on YouTube and then come back to us if they have questions, because it is being live streamed right now. So that we can proceed, and the people that are in the room and the people that have come to maybe help us answer questions.
You're voting on this tonight, so that's not really an option.
Every person here deserves the right to hear what's going on. I mean, that's what the job of that you're elected for, right? That's the thing, is everyone out here are elected for you to hear what they say.
Is someone able to live stream it out there and put it on speakerphone so that everyone has the opportunity to hear? That would be bringing a speaker into the area.
If there's somebody out there with a phone that wants to live stream it out there, absolutely, yep.
I don't,
Facility this big though, is there nowhere else we can just move?
unfortunately, there's one room upstairs, but there's not a chair in it or a microphone, so I'm not sure that we would solve the problem, I guess. Right, yeah, and we couldn't stream the meeting. So guys, here's the other issue, is that this is the only location we have that we can stream these meetings. So we kind of need to hold them here because we're promising the public that we'll live stream the meetings.
But the public that is here wants to participate.
I understand that, but I actually, like I said, I guess I've never been asked to cancel a council meeting before, so bear with me a moment.
No, just making it accessible to everybody here.
Okay, but we don't have to pass this motion this evening.
They're not getting what we already discussed.
Yeah.
They still can't hear.
Yeah. Sure, Councillor Martin's gonna come out and try and explain it.
How many years have I known you now, Debbie?
We just,
even have a speaker that we can put.
Me and my brother. Motion for a recess.
Okay, Councillor Murray has motion for a recess, so just give us 10 minutes.
Can I motion for a recess, please?
Do I have a seconder? Are we ready for the question? We'll now proceed with the vote. All those in favor of proceeding for a 10-minute recess, show your consent by saying yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Motion carried.
Mrs. Mayor, there's a warrant.
Probably squeeze, I mean, everybody stood up instead of, some have to sit
All right,
down.
guys, we'll make it short and sweet. If you want to make it happen today, whoever really can't stand up, they get seats. Whoever's going to stand up, get up. We'll move the chairs ahead. We'll all squeeze in here. That's all it's going to get done. We can sit here and fight all day. It's
How many people are out there?
black and blue. So
15 or 20?
if you really can stand up, do me a favor, stand up. We'll move the chairs. We'll move the chairs, and we'll just get this.
This is happening because she hasn't taken control.
Yeah.
She needed to go there herself. I was just about to ask her to do that. Well, she's under a bit of stress right now too because 60 people have not showed up to a meeting before. Remember the public now. Remember the public making decisions, making things happen.
If they had the chairs going at different angles, this takes up so much space.
Right.
You can have this armrest,
That's
and she
okay,
can
yeah.
have that
That's
armrest,
okay.
and we'll
I'm
all
going to sit in the
sit.
middle if I'm going to sit there. I'm not sitting on an armrest.
We need knee surgery,
fine.
please don't.
No, I wouldn't do that.
don't know how many people.
I think there's more than what's in here.
Yeah.
And I think that should have been looked at before Andre started. They need to be in control. Andre just caused chaos. Now he's feeling pretty good about it because everyone's doing it.
Well, this does make more room for people.
I'm not sure how they think about it, but I got something to say. I'm getting up to the microphone.
I know if there's a red ring around the mic, you're live. Just got to push enough buttons to make it so.
You just hit there.
So we went from put chairs in to get rid of chairs. Sorry.
Coming over, Karen. Getting cozy.
Okay.
Getting there behind you.
Okay, let's try this again.
Yeah. You're still gonna keep reading.
Thank you for accommodating.
Yes, I am. No,
All right.
no, I'm going to finish this. Just okay. Okay, can we have a motion to move back into open session? Moved by Councillor Murray. Seconded by Councillor Martin. Are we ready for the question? We'll now proceed with the vote. All those in favor of returning to open session, show your consent by saying yes. Yes. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay, so I was talking about modifying language within our own bylaw, which we cannot do if we just go with the Emergency Measures Act of the province. So we were provided some examples, and one of the examples was a natural disaster, and the definition that we were given doesn't say anything about a blizzard, an ice storm, a hurricane, or a fire. So that's another example of if we don't use broad definitions, those particular events wouldn't be considered an emergency, which is why we're being careful about modifying language. Okay, so with regard to the concerns about the power this bylaw offers, again, I'll start by referring to the Provincial Emergencies Act. This act was adopted in 1978, and I will say that I believe I had commented to somebody previously that in my lifetime it hadn't been used, and I was mistaken. In March of 2020, the province declared a state of emergency, and I'm willing to bet at least 95% of the people in this room were either living here or living somewhere that affected them. Now, I am willing to say that there's probably also a lot of people in this room that at one time or another during that state of emergency felt that the asks that were being asked were too much. But many of the things that I've heard as concerns in our case with this bylaw were not enacted during that emergency, and the government had the power to use those. There was no confiscation of property or rationing of foods. There was no price setting or destruction of property. In declaring emergency, they technically had the right to do all those things, but they didn't. I'm explaining this because it goes back to my comments about keeping definitions broad in an Emergencies Act. And it also highlights that the Act applies to any and all emergencies. At a previous meeting, we were discussing this bylaw and the fact that there was uneasiness among the residents, and I had said to council, this is what I'm grasping to wrap my head around. I learned from the fire that we had that before we could even ask, at least 95% of the residents of Maple Hills and the surrounding area would already be calling us offering to help in an emergency. This bylaw or the Emergency Measures Act is for the 2% that aren't home and the 3% that aren't willing to help. If you're not home and we need to go into your home without permission if there's an evacuation order because we think someone might be there, we need the option to do that. What if your young teen was home alone and told not to answer the door to a stranger? We need the ability to get them out. What if you're away on vacation and the wildfire's coming for your pasture? We need the authority to move your cattle and horses to save their lives. And if you're one of the ones who refuses to help, but you have a pond on your property and we need to drain it to put out the fire, we need to be able to say, I'm sorry, but we have to take this water to save homes and lives. The authority this bylaw gives, I can't ever imagine being used because most everyone in this community and surrounding area cares enough that they would offer help to anyone, cares enough to offer help before anyone showed up asking for it, and would be grateful that we helped them when we weren't home. However, the individual who thought I made up the fire, if he has kids in his house and we have an evacuation order, we still need to get his kids out. We, your council, and your emergency measures committee do not want to use this authority that's in this act. Unfortunately, we recognize, just like the provinces, that there's instances where it might be necessary to save homes and lives. So here are a few other questions that I haven't addressed yet that we received from residents. What is an emergency? By definition, an emergency is a dangerous and unexpected situation requiring immediate action to prevent harm to life, health, property, or the environment. When do governments declare a state of emergency? Governments declare a state of emergency when a situation poses a significant threat to life or infrastructure. Can the province overstep the municipality? Yes, we could declare a local state of emergency, but if the issue was something bigger than just our municipality, the province would declare a state of emergency. And much like COVID, if we had been a community and declared a state of emergency, their instructions would supersede ours. The only time I can think of the province stepping into a local emergency and taking over is if we weren't managing it properly, or maybe if we refused to declare it and they felt we needed to. We were asked, who is the CAO? So this is our CAO, Chief Administrative Officer. Her name is Hannah Downey, and she is hired by council. There were comments in the questions we got about her having sweeping powers with this bylaw, and I don't really understand them. There's a section that says the CAO is part of the Emergency Measures Committee for the municipality, but the committee also has a representative from council, a director of emergency measures, whom we've yet to hire, but we've interviewed, and we're doing another interview, and members of the public. The director of emergency measures is required to have extensive experience in dealing with emergency situations. It's for the entire committee and not one person that will be involved in the emergency, which is also stated in section 3. There were a couple other references to the CAO, and they're around communication to council and the provincial officials. One of the other questions we got was safeguard against misuse. So with this bylaw, the mayor or deputy mayor can declare a state of emergency, and in the absence of both, two councillors can convene a meeting of council to declare a state of emergency. So basically, myself or Deputy Mayor Jean Gras, if there were an emergency, could declare it, and if we were unavailable, then council would convene and vote to declare one. This allows for action to be taken as quickly as possible. However, in the case of this bylaw, if it were felt that I, for example, overstepped, the public safety minister could overrule me and disallow the state of emergency. It should also be noted that it does state in the Provincial Act and has been amended into our bylaw, if the mayor or municipality declares a state of a local emergency, it cannot be extended past 7 days without the permission of the provincial minister of public safety. So even if council did misuse the authority, they could be challenged by the Minister of Public Safety and would require permission for it to last longer than a week. We had a question about oversight and review of this bylaw, and the EMO committee would annually look over the plan and the bylaw and bring recommendations to council if they felt that changes needed to be made. So price fixing. The reason this was included The reason this is included is to allow for protection for consumers. If the emergency allowed for shortages of anything, ensuring price gouging didn't occur would be necessary. I can't really think of an instance where the municipality would benefit from increasing costs, as was sort of indicated in the question I got. So I'm not really sure where that threat would be, but I'll welcome if somebody wants to explain what the concern was there. This is a protection measure, and honestly, if the emergency had reached a state that shortages were a concern, it's likely the province or the federal government would be involved. Confiscation. This is another broad term to allow us to assist if necessary. Let's say we need to build a fire break around a wildfire. Maybe there are others burning and we can't get the equipment fast enough. Again, I can't think of a farmer I know that wouldn't only offer his tractor but offer to drive it to help us build the break. But if someone says no or they aren't home, this allows us to get the tractor and get that break built to save houses and lives. There was a question about the demolition or removal of structure or crop. So this one, if you read the whole thing, specifically states the demolition or removal is necessary or advisable for the purposes of reaching the scene of the disaster or attempting to forestall its occurrence and or combating its progress. So this authority isn't for us to just go tear down buildings and crops, but if there's a fire and it's on the other side of a wheat field and we have to drive through the wheat field because that's the fastest way to get there, we need to be able to do that. Indemnity. So I spoke to the province about this one, and the province told me that, excuse me, they've never not reimbursed someone for items that were damaged or used in an emergency. I also think that this council would likely, in the event of an emergency when it was over, vote to reimburse somebody. The problem is we have a budget and it has to be balanced, so we might not be able to do it immediately. This clause gives us the ability to refrain from being sued and spend your money on a legal battle. It also ensures that if somebody loses their house in a wildfire, we don't have to go to court over that as well. Someone asked about preventative measures. So we've learned that we are required to have a climate change adaptation plan, and while we haven't started it yet, it's been discussed at previous meetings, and council seem to agree that before we ever had a fire, that wildfires should be our focus. We've also been advised that we will require, by the province, that we will require a wildfire management plan. After conversations with the Southeast Regional Service Commission at public safety meetings, as well as what we've learned about the cost of the consultants the province requires us to use, we have agreed to have a regional plan done. Moncton, Riverview, and Dieppe have opted out, but Three Rivers, which is Petitcodiac and the surrounding area, Salisbury, Tantramar, Memramcook, Capelay, ourselves, Straight Shores, which is the Port Elgin area, Fundy Albert, and Shediac have agreed to collaborate and have one done for the entire area. This has significantly reduced the cost of the plan, and it'll carry through the boundaries. So I hope this addresses many of the questions that we've already received from the residents about the bylaw. And while we're happy to take questions that I may not have answered, I'd just like to state a couple more things. As I stated at the beginning of the meeting, council isn't trying to hide anything from the residents. We approached this in the most transparent way of the options we had. We understand that people feel that they didn't know about it, but we have had 3 public meetings about it and no one attended the meetings. The meetings are public and that's why we have them public. We don't make decisions that aren't public. So we need you to attend or watch them on YouTube. We did discuss committee of the whole meetings being broadcast or live streamed. Our typical viewership, aside from the last meeting, and there was one in January and February that I think was a rezoning, those had huge viewerships. The rest were averaging around 18 to 20. So we didn't think there was an interest, but we will start live streaming the committee of the whole meetings so that you can watch those as well. So how it works is committee of the whole is where we debate. Regular council meetings is where we vote. So if you watched a committee of the whole and you had feedback and you gave it to us before the vote, before the regular council meeting, it's before the vote. I'd also like to point out that we don't see all your social media posts. I'm sure anybody with social media knows that algorithms don't allow us to see them all. We'd appreciate an email or a phone call if you have questions, because we just can't be sure that we saw them all. And I don't know about the rest of these guys, but I myself prefer to answer somebody on a platform that the comments can't be changed or deleted. So I would prefer to send you an email or have a phone call with you. With regard to questions from the public this evening, we'll need you to, anybody that has questions, we'll need you to state your name and where you live in Maple Hills. We don't need an exact address, just a general area to make sure that you do live in Maple Hills. We will, as always, try to answer the questions that you offer as best that we can. It is in our procedural bylaw that when we get questions from the public, if we don't have the answer on hand, we will provide it to you either in writing before the next council meeting or at the next council meeting, whichever you prefer. Oh, we do ask, so we police ourselves with this. We call it spinning. If we just ask if your question has already been asked, that you don't ask it again, just for everybody's, to respect everybody's time. And finally, for those addressing council this evening, we require that you be respectful. We don't come to your place of work and yell and threaten or swear at you, and we're just asking for the same respect. We do want to hear from you. We just simply ask that it's respectful and professional. Anybody that's not being respectful or that is speaking over other people will be asked to leave. And I'm bringing this up for a reason. We have already gotten some pretty nasty emails and social media comments about this topic and others. And we just don't feel that this should be unprofessional. And I'll leave you with this. If you are the person who sent us the email calling us communist pieces of shit, you can leave now because we're not going to talk about that this evening. So,
Just go back to here, just to make sure that we do these. No, like the conflict of interest.
yeah. So, so I'll now call our meeting to order. Madam CAO, do we have quorum?
We do have quorum.
Okay. Does anybody have any conflicts of interest to declare this evening? Okay. So, excuse me, the next topic is the adoption of the agenda. It would.
Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda.
Oh. Okay. Deputy Mayor. Oh.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda.
Okay.
And I would like to move 11C to before 9.
Okay. So for those of you that have an agenda in your hand, I know there were some passed out. Deputy Mayor Jongra is asking to move the vote about the bylaw for the emergency plan to immediately follow the petitions, requests, or presentations. Sorry, not. Okay. So does anybody have? Is everybody okay with the?
I need a seconder, don't I?
Oh, sorry. Seconded by Councillor Esty. Do we have any questions on this motion? Are we ready for the question?
Question.
We'll now proceed with the vote. All those in favor of adopting the amended agenda, show your consent by saying yes.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. No, I can't. We can't stop the meeting and print a whole bunch more papers. I'm sorry.
Madam Mayor, who seconded that motion? Sorry.
Councillor Esty. Okay.
No. Sorry.
It's not working. Typically, yes, Councillor Martin, we could put it on the TV tonight. It is not working. Okay, so next we need to adopt the minutes from, we have two sets. Do I have a motion on the first set of minutes? Can you read the motion, just because there's two sets and they're different dates, please?
I move that we adopt minutes of the August 19th, 2025 regular meeting as presented.
Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Murray. Are we ready for the question? We'll now proceed with the vote. All those in favor of adopting the August 19th regular meeting minutes, show your consent by saying yes.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Do I have a motion on the next one? Moved by Deputy Mayor Jean Gras.
Oh, jeez. I move the adoption of the minutes of the September 2nd, 2025 special meeting as presented.
Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Murray. Are we ready for the question?
Question.
We'll now proceed with the vote. All those in favor of adopting the September 2nd special meeting minutes, show your consent by saying yes.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, so the next topic is questions from the public. So we will ask that you use the I know this is going to be a challenge, guys. I'm going to tell you right now, there has never been this many people in this room. I really hope you all come back when you're not, all here at the same time. So,
Madam Mayor, the first I listed these in order of people who have requested.
Okay, so I guess CAO Downey has a list of people that had put in a request to ask questions, so who do we have first?
It's Eugenie, Embry, and Daryl.
Can I just make a comment quick? Just so people understand, the page they're missing is just exactly point form of what's happening tonight in an agenda. There is no special information on that, but it is what the board is presenting by numerical order. So it's not as important as you think you might have if you're missing it.
Councillors, can I just ask that you maybe put your phones in your back pocket? There's still interference on these mics. Some of them are lit up, showing lit up, and they're not. I think it might be these. Your mic's lit up, so you're good to go.
I'm good to go?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor, for your explanations. My question is in regards to the emergency procedures bylaw. You've brought forward all the positive things, which I'm sure most of us in this room agree, all these positive things, saving your children from a burning house and so on. Yes, most people would want that to happen. There could, however, in the future, be people who are not as positive as we are, and the powers given in this bylaw could possibly be abused. And with the indemnity clause in the bylaw, we as the public and even you as the council have no powers with the indemnity clause. We can't make any claims. And I know you're saying that you've never not reimbursed somebody, but the indemnity clause says you don't have to. Is it possible to modify that indemnity clause to make further modifications to the bylaw with modifications to the indemnity clause and allowing for claims of a reasonable fashion?
So, sorry, I should have included, my apologies. This, title. Fire Chief Conrad Landry agreed to attend the meeting and help us answer questions. I should have pointed that out. So with regard to the powers, those powers, the province already has them. And if we don't adopt the bylaw, by default, we already have them. So I don't,
Exactly.
even changing the language they're still in effect.
So does the province's bylaw supersede our community bylaw, I guess is another question.
So it would in the event, so the example I used earlier where if we missed something, then we had to go to the province and we'd have to explain why we missed it. And it would be a process that would slow down our dealing with the emergency, but yes, it would override it. So in changing it's not gonna really make a difference. Our idea behind having the bylaw was for the ability to add some clarity. So we did make a few amendments to it this week to add clarity around things that we could based on the information that we got. And that was being presented to the council this evening.
Yeah.
The indemnity, I honestly can't answer that question. I don't have an answer for you this evening. We could, I guess, CEO Downey.
The only thing I can add is that the bylaw that we drafted was taken from the sort of province-wide. I took a pool of them, and they all have the same indemnity clause, which follows the provincial act. It would be something else if this council were to remove that indemnity clause. It probably wouldn't come from a recommendation for my side.
Sorry, but I'm not even sure that our insurance company would allow that anyway, would they?
I think a modification would be better, not to remove it, but to somehow modify it to say that within reason, people would be reimbursed if property was abused, or not even abused, but, if people, for example, if we had to take somebody's tractor and it got burnt, they could get some sort of reimbursement. I'm thinking people would feel better if we felt.
I don't disagree with you. I guess we'll have to look at it because, like I said, the challenge we would have is, let's say there was a fire in August and we did decide we wanted to replace your tractor, but we don't have it in the budget for this year. So then it becomes we'll do it, but you have to wait till January when we have the new budget in place. And are we going to end up with a lawsuit because it took those are things I can't answer. I don't know. But I mean, I guess we could ask some questions. I I agree with Hannah. I think that the recommendation from our lawyer is probably going to be not to change, but we can ask. We can ask. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
I think with all council, we're understanding of the good faith,
So-
and we're used to that, but that's the skepticism of our
So,
community. that's-
okay, who do we have? Sorry, we just have to follow the speaking list. Who do we have next on the list?
Terry Forsyth?
Terry Forsyth. Oh, somebody lean up. Terry, I'm going to tell you, that happened at a funeral I attended recently. It's not a good sign.
Okay, my concerns are that this is already a bill, provincial bill. So why are we opening ourselves up to pass it as a bylaw where there's really no need to? There's a lot of stuff in there that we don't need.
So we could not pass the bylaw,
This is what I'm saying.
but if we don't, then the existing act by default
Yeah, but
is
we're not
what we
held
follow.
responsible then.
Yes,
Maple Hills
yes,
would-
we are.
No, but Maple Hills, if somebody's gonna sue you, wouldn't be responsible, it would be the provincial government.
We would still be sued. The Local Governance Act states that we have to supply this service.
Well, yeah, you have to supply it, but if there's somebody gonna sue over it, it's not you, it's not the community they're gonna sue, they're gonna go after provincial government, because if there's a clause in there that it's bordering on constitutional rights or whatever, that's really not you guys that wrote that, that's the provincial government.
Okay, so the feeling is that you'd prefer we didn't adopt the bylaw? and-
No, I'm all for a bylaw, but a lot of that stuff in there is garbage, we don't need it.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm
You know,
saying
so
is.
why adopt a bill that we don't need and we're just opening ourselves up for maybe more expense down the road?
So
Where
I-
we can adopt a bill that fits this community.
Well, the options are we can adopt the bylaw that, like, either way, that's what I'm trying to explain to you.
No,
Either
I
way.
understand
The
that.
Emergencies Act is what by default falls.
Yeah, but that's not ours.
Well, we're still gonna have to enact
We'll
what's in
have-
it.
We'll have to enact what the provincial says, but make our own amendment that fits us and we can follow that. If there's emergency, this is the steps you take.
Well, that will be our emergency measures plan, which we are going to.
Yeah, but not
that's-
going and threaten somebody, hey, if you don't do that, we're taking your stuff. That's not gonna work. Yeah, that's why people are here. No,
Okay,
I am
no,
being
I
honest
guess
with you.
I'm trying to explain though that regardless of what's on this bylaw,
Yeah.
the provincial
So why
one
we don't need to
supersedes
pass
it.
We don't need to pass a bylaw we don't need.
So, no, we got, sorry.
It's my
Sorry.
turn, I had the lights.
Okay, so you're suggesting we shouldn't adopt the bylaw at all and just go
No,
with,
make our
just
own.
go with the provincial?
Go with but make our own, amend our own bylaw that fits this community. There's a lot of good people.
That's what
that are-
we're doing.
Yeah, but a lot of that stuff doesn't fit this community.
Okay,
It doesn't hold the community responsible. Because at some time, there's gonna be challenges on that thing, and everybody knows that. Somebody's gonna abuse it. It's set up to be abused.
okay. So, okay, I guess that's what so typically, the questions have to be directed to the chair, but Councilor Martin would like to intervene, and I'm gonna let him. I don't know if your mic's gonna work though. No, you'll have to use Hannah's. It won't, it's already lit up, and it's not, so.
I'll just yell.
No,
Oh, we gotta
live
record, sorry, we gotta
live
record.
stream.
All right.
Don't you yell at me now.
Lights might go out. All right, everyone hear me? Okay. So the question he has is basically, why don't we just leave what we have and create something else for the local area? The problem being is if we put anything other than the bare minimum in of what the province has, it literally will make no difference. It can be overrode at all.
That's fine.
But then there's no point to it.
Yeah, but I mean, but the security, the people would feel better would say, is there emergency? I can dial this number. We're gonna dial, it's set up here that if there's an emergency, you dial this number. You need help to evacuate, there's somebody there to help you. Not-
Those things will all still be in place.
No, but I mean, I'm just using that as an example, eh? I mean, there could be an amendment that better fits the community than what's in that bill that the people would work more with than what's you know, the threats in the provincial.
Okay.
I mean, the provincial can override you, most definitely they can. But if your system is working, why would they override you? Do you understand what I mean?
Go ahead.
So, I'm just going to bring into terms here some situations to try to help people understand. Does everyone remember Slave Lake? The fires that took place out in Slave Lake? Some of us actually might have been out there. So in the situation in Slave Lake, some of you may not know, but they essentially commandeered equipment and put it right through the center of a strip mall. In doing so, they saved a significant portion of other properties and so on and so forth. That's the purpose of this commandeering equipment. That's the purpose of property, etc. It doesn't have to do with someone's going to go into your property, take whatnot. It has to do with, as the mayor mentioned, if there's a planted field that they need to get across the field to the emergency, whether it's flood, fire, whatever, they can do it. And the other reason by having it locally is when everything is set up provincially, and I'll be very honest, as a councillor, 90% of the emails, phone calls I receive are people that have issues with provincial programs and delay on provincial programs. So having it locally also reduces the time that we can respond to these things, things in place locally. On top of that, yes, I understand your concern regarding, you know what, future councils, et cetera, may not be on the same level as
That's right.
us, et cetera. I understand that. But there is a point and check into that. These are also individuals that you elect.
Yeah.
They're
but
responsible to you.
It's like
So-
a politician, you elect them, it's not always the same.
Easy
Not always the same
now.
how you elect them.
Easy now.
You're fighting for it. How can I put this? Got me off track here now.
No, I understand. But what I'm saying is, we don't need all that stuff. Like, it can be set up here, like, there's,
Yeah.
your neighbors are gonna
Okay.
help you.
Okay.
I agree, but some won't.
Well,
I was
you haven't got much of a neighbor.
like you said.
Okay. Yeah. So do you have it? Okay, guys, we got to talk one at a time. So do you have anything else you need to add?
No, I guess that's it.
Okay.
I've drank my coffee.
Lights go off and you walk back. I don't know.
So next, Annie Simon is the next one on the list. No Annie? Okay.
Those are all the people that have asked to ask questions.
Okay.
So if there's anybody else.
Okay, so does anybody have a question that we haven't already answered? Okay, so you can come to the podium. Yep. So give us your
Hi,
name
my
and
name's
you
Adam.
don't have to give your
I
exact
live
address.
at 11 Cape Breton Road, just right up
Okay.
there.
Or you can give your
I
exact
have
address, sure.
just two tiers to this. I just want to ask as a question, how do you guys feel the public, how do you feel the perception of the public on this? Like, how do you think we feel?
So I actually feel like some of it is a misunderstanding. I do feel that some of it is a misunderstanding
Okay.
because it's already there. So, and I feel that we did what we thought was being transparent by saying what we were doing and explaining it, and by having this meeting and saying, come and talk to us, tell us what you think, and trying to answer your questions. We thought we were handling it the best way that we could so that you knew what was going on and we could help you understand.
It worked. You handled it well. Look at us all. We're here, right? So we want to help you understand. So, okay, do you guys anybody else want to say how you feel about how you think we all feel about this bylaw stuff?
So again,
I was directing at anybody that wanted to answer.
no, so, sorry, I should have explained that at the beginning.
sorry.
So how the public questions work are they're presented to the chair.
That's you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, as far as an emergency, have you guys done any studies on what our last emergencies were? Like, what were the last 5 emergencies that we had here?
So as a municipal council, we are required by the province to have an emergency plan, which that's our next step. We were putting this bylaw in place so that we could adopt the plan.
What is an emergency?
Pardon me?
What is an emergency?
So I explained that earlier today. in my,
You mentioned that you wanted to keep the terminology vague so that you guys could pivot and move on the fly, I think is what you said, sort of. I'm paraphrasing, but.
so emergency is an dangerous, unexpected situation requiring immediate action to prevent harm to life, health, property, or the environment.
So as adults and stuff, and we're all pretty smart, could we come up with what those might be and make a list of actual things that could be written? Like
So-
a fire, an ice storm, a health,
Yeah,
what we all went through with that nonsense with COVID, right?
Yeah.
Because we're all still, well, I don't know about everybody, but I'm still choked up about the infringements during that. And so we all know what we experienced then, and to say that we're not going to experience that again by giving away more power, like I don't think, I'll speak for myself, but I don't agree with this bylaw stuff at all. So like, we're not here to like, well, I'm here to ask questions, but we don't agree at all. Like,
Okay.
we're not misinformed. I don't think there's confusion.
well,
Is anybody confused? We're not confused. Like, we know what happens when people can have too much power.
okay.
But we trust you guys. I
So-
think I trust you guys.
So you'd prefer that we didn't adopt a bylaw at all? Then?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Like, we don't need to change anything right now. But in your own words, it doesn't actually change anything if we don't do this because it already exists as a province, right?
Yep.
So the point of doing this is irrelevant except to give her a job, maybe? Like, how much do you make per?
so,
Do we
okay, so,
pay her, though,
okay,
like, at
so
a tag? I'm just
we're not
curious.
gonna ask somebody what their salary is, that's not appropriate.
Well, did we just hire her for this particular thing?
No, she
Oh.
runs our office.
Oh, she runs the office?
Yes, she
Oh,
does.
okay, I thought
Yes.
we just hired her. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that
I
was-
didn't know that you were.
Yeah, little offside there, I think.
I thought she was a
Little
consultant now
offside.
for the province.
Okay. Okay,
Oh.
so we've taken
Well,
note
good.
that you'd prefer we didn't adopt a bylaw at all.
So what happens now? Like,
So now by default, the Provincial Emergency Measures Act applies to this
well, no,
municipality.
I don't get what I want, but I'm just saying, like, what happens now as far as my concern? Like, do I have to follow up next time to see how voting goes on this, or?
You're welcome to, it's a public meeting.
So, but you guys can vote how you want, right? Are you compelled by the province right now to lean a certain way on this, anybody?
So
For
we-
money? Like,
No.
not private money, I mean for the municipality. No, I don't mean personal
No.
money.
No,
I mean, because there was
No.
restrictions with the COVID money.
there's no money involved, there's no money involved,
Okay.
there's none.
Was it like
We-
that for the gym? Did we have to promise things to the feds for the gym money?
Nope,
Oh,
nope,
okay.
nope, the gym was a private sponsor, had nothing
Good.
to do with the government
And you
whatsoever.
guys all have our best interests.
That's why we're here, that's why we went through this process, because we thought
So
we were being
Can we keep it
transparent.
where you guys can fight the government on our behalf instead of like the provincial government? Because it might come to that instead of like us working real close with them.
Well,
Not if we leave the
that's-
power with the province, which you want to do. Could I get your name, sir?
But they have the power, right?
Could I
Adam
get your
Hennessy?
name, sir, for the minutes?
Adam Hennessy? I had stated it at the start. for the
Yeah,
minutes.
sorry, no,
It's like-
she's typing it, she didn't catch it.
Oh.
Okay, so we've taken note that you don't want the bylaw, we've taken
But
note.
can we define emergency more?
Well, if
as
we're not
to-
gonna adopt a bylaw, then we
No,
can't
but-
define any of the language, none
But
of it.
if you do, we're talking about language, right? That was why I brought it up, because you specifically said you wanted to have the language vague.
No, I said the reasons why in the Emergencies Act it's vague is to make sure that nothing gets missed.
So it's a good thing
And
to have
that
it
we wanted to adopt a bylaw so that we could change the language and make it clearer, but we were being careful because if we were too tight with the language, we might miss something and then the bylaw wouldn't apply anymore.
So how did we redefine emergency other than, did we go with that statement? That's what we're saying emergency is,
We
is just
didn't-
that? We didn't define that any deeper than that statement?
I don't think we amended that part, did we?
No,
Shouldn't
that
we
comes right
amend
from the
that for
provincial.
Yeah,
clarity too?
that's from the province,
Because
what I
if we
read.
did go forward on this and I didn't get to have what I want, I would like to see it where that terminology is amended, that we define emergencies and we put clear parameters on what can be done. Like there's a forest fire. Specifically, if there's a forest fire, we just experienced it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we could use that as a recent example and say, well, this is what was good, this is what's not good. But we could keep it local, not force anybody, compel anybody to do anything. Like just use that 95%. 95% of good-hearted people can solve any emergency, right? So
Yep,
that's all I.
okay, thank you. Okay, does anybody else have any questions? Okay. You'll have your report. Oh, I just,
Hello, my name is April Ryan. I live at Valley Ranch Road.
okay,
My question is, just have to ask this.
sure.
You seem a little defensive about us all being here, questioning this. This pertains to our life. You know, we live here. We love it here. We love the way it is. And if there's already a provincial bylaw, okay, I don't understand why. And I know that's one of those spinning questions that you didn't want to have asked again. But I don't understand, for the life of me, why. It's because my fear is give an inch, take a mile. So you had said earlier, and it wasn't necessarily talking about the emergency, but it was talking about something else where you could make annual amendments to said bylaw if it passed. It was said, yes, it was said that there could be, like, with the indemnity, there could be changes made annually. You also talk about transparency. I only found out about this meeting about a week and a half ago. I'm on Facebook. I have a little local business. I knew nothing about it, nothing. So 2 readings on August 19th, I knew nothing about them. I'm not political by any stretch, but I find it a little bit sneaky, and I'm a plain Jane common person, and I'm slightly offended with the attitude that seems to be given back to us people tonight. Like, we're here, we're concerned people, and I feel that there's attitude. I feel that smiling and laughing and kind of mocking people when they say, so you don't want the bylaw, you don't want the bylaw. Okay, we'll note that. We don't want the bylaw. We're here to say we don't. It's not something that we should be laughed at for. It's something that, this is our right. It goes against the Constitution, as a matter of fact. And as I stand here, like I say, it infuriates me to hear kind of the lack of respect that us Maple Hills residents are receiving. Like, I really feel that way. And I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I do. And I'm somewhat disappointed with the attitude and the behavior, the treatment that we're getting here tonight. You didn't expect a crowd like this. Well, surprise, we're here, and there's power in numbers. So, you know, you spoke about it passing. We don't want it to pass, and I don't think that you guys taking us seriously. Like, I do think that Adam just spoke, you know, about what's the province telling you to do? What's the province telling you to say? I believe it comes from higher up than you guys. I think you guys are basically scapegoats for higher up. And I don't sound like some crazy nut, but that's kind of what I feel too. So I know I'm rambling because I had no intent to speak. I don't do this type of stuff. But like I say, it means a lot to me. This community means a lot to me. I love it here. I have grown adult children, grandchildren, and I want their tomorrows to be awesome. I want them to be, you know, great. And I'm just so scared that get us under your thumb with this bylaw, and it's just going to be a slippery slope for control. And that's where I'm at with things. So I know I know it's a lot, because it's a lot for me. But like I say, I think that we all need to be respected. I think we all need to be taken seriously, because this is our community. And so that's
Okay.
kind of...
So I'm sorry if you felt that I was being disrespectful. I wasn't trying to be. I was trying to explain, and I guess maybe I am coming off a little defensive, because we did this because we thought it was the most transparent way. If we had done nothing and all of this stuff still applied and nobody was the wiser and we just carried on and we never told you what was happening, and then there was an emergency and people wanted to know why we were allowed to do this or do that, to me that looked sneaky and disrespectful. So we thought the most transparent and the most honest approach was to say, here's a bylaw, and we're going to do one of our own so that we can modify language if it's not clear. But I'm hearing a lot that people are upset about us doing it that way, and they wish we didn't do it at all, which means that we would have done nothing and you'd have never known about any of it. So I probably come off as defensive because I did think, or we thought, that we were being as transparent as possible in doing something that we have to do one way or the other. And
What do you mean you have to do one way or another? What do you
So-
mean by that? So is it a done deal? Like,
so,
is this
no,
all for
no.
naught?
So, okay, so if there's an emergency tomorrow, the Provincial Emergency Measures Act takes effect. Everything that's in the Provincial Emergency Measures Act applies to this municipality if there's an emergency tomorrow and it's declared. So right now, we'd have to go to the province and ask them to declare a local state of emergency, and they would, and then everything that's in that act would be a, I don't like to term it this way, but it would be a power that we would have as a part of the act. So the only thing that changes with us adopting the bylaw is that we can change language if you feel it's unclear, or make things, explain things more. I guess that's kind of the same thing, sorry. But in having our own, we could make it easier to understand, but in saying, hey, we're doing this, it was letting everybody know we were doing it. That's the only reason we went through this bylaw process. We could have done nothing, but we didn't feel that was transparent. So I guess, yes, maybe I am coming off a little defensive because we thought that we were making sure that you were informed, but that's not, now you're saying you wish we hadn't done it, so.
Hang on.
She,
That's okay, because I agree with everything he has to say over there. So, yeah, I agree with you. No, I, basically, like I say, my fear is standing here tonight. I came hoping that my voice mattered, but it sounds like it doesn't. It sounds like it doesn't. It sounds like it's decided. And I'm disgusted.
it's not, it already exists. It already existed a long time ago.
But I think here in Maple Hills, I think it's a little bit more than just the provincial bylaw. I think it's a little overreach.
It's this.
Is it identical?
It's less than what was.
Yeah, there's just, Madam Mayor, if I
Yes,
could just
yes,
clarify
yeah.
one thing. Just so everyone is aware, when a bylaw is changed, you said that it was mentioned that we could be amended in a year. That's actually the response plan. So the council will have an emergency response plan. So if there was an event of an emergency, not necessarily like a local state of emergency, but things like like an ice storm, natural disasters, we'll have an emergency response plan and a preparedness plan. That will be changed. But if there was going to be a change to this actual bylaw, say in a year, we have to go through the same thing again. We can't just, council can never just change a bylaw. It has to go through the change and the same 3 readings. So just, I wanted to provide clarity to that, just because you said, council could just change this in a year. What Mayor Warren was referring to was the plan that comes after this. So like what Mr. Hennessy said, if there's, an ice storm, all those emergencies will be, the contents will be in the response plan and preparedness plan. And I mean, we're currently working with a committee, and we have career firemen that are taking part on it, and we're doing risk analysis right now of what Maple Hills is at risk for. Number 1 risk is forest fire. So those things will be looked at periodically to see if there's any changes that need for the response plan. But a bylaw change has to go through the same process, where there's a public notice on our website, and first and second and third reading.
Okay, so that's, the website is where we always have to go to find out about what's going on. Okay, all right. Well, like I say, my big point was, I just felt that you didn't understand from, like, a resident. You gotta be, and you guys probably, you all live here too, so, but like I say, I just felt like you were talking down to us and disregarding all the comments and statements, the eye rolling, the laughing, like it's, teach my children better than that. So it just, it offended me. So.
I apologize. I was not trying to offend you.
And again, I don't agree with it, so it's a no vote for me. So, Thank you for your time.
It's on the lowest.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was trying to get the heat turned down, but apparently it's as low as it can go.
Good afternoon, my name is John. I live on New Scotland Road.
Okay. What's your last name, John?
Pardon me? Fitzsimmons.
Fitzsimmons. You got it?
Please keep quiet.
Well, so what I gathered here is, regardless of our bylaw, the provincial government is the boss. You're just dumbing it down so us people can understand basically what they're going to do.
I wouldn't put it that way, but
Right?
defining it.
Pretty much, right?
Defining it.
Same difference. So, what everybody in this room and everybody in our community, fire, break and enter, natural disaster, there's not one of us that would say, get off my freaking land because you're not putting that fire out. We'll all do it. We lose work, we go help, whatever, right? So everybody in here will do this shit to help each other. The thing is that we want, being hardworking people in a province that is a crap hole, we want, if you come on our property and destroy stuff, which it's got to be done, we understand, we want paid for it. I don't want to work, I'm 64 years old, I don't want to work all my life for something and have people come in, destroy my shit, hey, thanks, fire's out, bye, work another 20 years to pay for it. And I worked with people from the military. I get upset, so it's hard to breathe. And what they do, the Canadian government goes around the world with our armed forces, and you go to Germany, break a tree, that's our tax dollars. And they told me this themselves. They break a fence, holy shit, here's a Canadian check, boom. We want it for us. It's our money.
Okay, so, and I'm not trying to dismiss you, I did write down that we would check with the lawyer about what we could do about the indemnity clause.
But we don't want to wait, we're all, most of us are older here, we don't want to wait and be dead, and holy shit, you're up in court now, here, John, oh, here's your $2,500. Oh shit, he's dead. Well, that goes back into our bank, right?
No, I have it written down for us to
problem
see if there was
crossing our
something we
land.
could do different, but it's kind of sounding to me like the bylaw's not something people want anyway, so.
It makes no difference.
So.
The province is going to do it.
There wouldn't
Province
be
has done it,
amendments
right?
if, yeah, but if we
You're
don't
just
adopt the
trying to
bylaw,
make
we
us
won't.
understand what the
Yeah.
province is going to do, regardless.
Yeah,
And maybe cut a couple corners so we can get help quicker.
that's right.
Well, anything to do with the province, you know, is going to take forever. The ice storm is going to be gone.
Sorry, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Not gonna disparage the next level of government, sorry.
But anyway, so that's the big maiden deal. Nobody is going to stop you from coming and crossing
agree
our
with you.
land
I agree with
to
you.
get that fire out, because her house, his house might burn, my house might burn. But I'm not going to get home from work and go, holy shit, look at this. How am I going to pay for this?
So, sorry, guys. You know what? If you want to take the mic when he's finished, great, but, yeah, okay. Okay, so, yeah, I wrote down about the
Okay.
indemnity, but like I said, if we don't adopt the bylaw, we won't make any changes, so it'll be kind of moot, so.
Tomato, tomato.
Okay,
Province, us, right? You know who gets stepped on? Ants, in the long run.
okay,
Thanks,
thank you.
but we know you're trying.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
You're between a rock and a hard place like that.
So I think there's a gentleman back there that had his hand up, I think are you on the list?
No.
Oh, you're not on the list. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, I thought you were on our list. My apologies. No, we have a president.
Well, I guess would say I can sure feel the energy in the room.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it either. Kirk Weaver asked me to come. And honestly, when I first walked in, I didn't even know what it was all about. Kennedy, Red Oak, Irishtown. And I can hear it. I can hear, I think, some misunderstanding. I think the mayor is correct. There is some misunderstanding, but there's no denying the feeling of the people, and that needs to be heard.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I think they're here is because,
Yeah.
like the other gentleman spoke, the history now, we have history of it, of overstep, of overreach. So that leads to some concern. One of the concerns I'm hearing about the Indemnity Act, Section 14 of the New Brunswick Emergency Measures Act states that you already have that power. And it also goes on to say that every person's property who's used or damaged appropriately by a local authority during that time will be compensated. That's in the act right now. So by you, if we, I think, and that I could be wrong, I'm just listening to the conversation. If, like that gentleman says, his land was wrecked and the town is ultimately the authority, it's already there for you to come in and go onto that said property. If you're now absolved of any responsibility, how does the citizen get paid?
So,
So that could, if you could answer that question for these people, that may put some hearts at ease.
so the actual, in the event of an actual
And other than that,
emergency.
thank you, and I'll let you finish.
In the event of an actual emergency, Department of Natural Resources, EMO, all of the provincial entities that helped us in this fire are still going to help us. We are just kind of the situation center that hopefully next time I have better information for you than I did this time. But we're the situation center that's giving you the information and communicating with the exact same organizations. We're not adding our own Department of Natural Resources or firemen or any, like, the entities that helped before would still be the same entities helping. So I guess, to your point, if EMO or DNR, sorry, Department of Natural Resources went in and took your tractor and they say that they'll pay for it, then they used it, they'll pay for it. So I guess does that help a little? Maybe I didn't explain that well enough, that it would still be the provincial agencies that I don't want to say fought the emergency, but like fought the fire, that deal with the emergency for us. Does that help? Okay, so this guy's been waiting a while and I misunderstood who he was, so. Oh, okay.
You're already there anyways.
I'm Gail Tebow from St. Philip.
Yes.
A question to what he just asked, and he said that they would pay for it, but if you come on, you do these things, then they can say, they did it, we didn't, they have to pay for it. Am I correct?
So we don't have a fire, like, we're not DNR, we're not.
No, but.
The police, we don't have those things.
But what I'm asking is, if you amend this law, you guys can do what you will, right? They come along, they say, we didn't break it, they did. You say, we didn't break it, they did. Who gets paid?
I guess, well, we wouldn't be on your land. Like, the municipal staff wouldn't. The emergency measures the emergency measures committee needs to be able to have that authority to say that we can do it. But it's still going to be, what's,
Who's gonna drive the tractor, is what you're saying, we're not gonna drive the tractor, so we're not gonna wreck the tractor, so someone else is gonna drive the tractor and wreck the tractor. But
Well,
who's gonna drive the tractor?
it's going to be the province that gives us all of the support for the emergency.
With what they already have in place for the Emergency Measures Act?
But also the resources to fight's not the right word, but to manage the emergency. It's going to be EMO, it's going to be DNR.
Didn't they just do all that here though, with fire?
Yes.
So then it might work well, as it is?
Well, again, we're hopeful that if it happens again, we can get a little better communication. So okay, go quick.
Yeah, just quick.
No, I mean before someone else gets there.
Okay. Kirk Ingraham, Red Oak. First of all, this may be all seem blindsided on your part. I want you to thank us for having us all. Obviously, eventually, we all are accommodated. We do appreciate that as a whole. I guess my question is, obviously, we're within a provincial regulation now. It's all worked for a number of years. If we did change, you're talking about making it more viable or more centered, not centered, more concentrated on what our specific needs were in the area. If we change this law, it would be more concentrated to what our needs would be for this area. Am I correct to say that?
So no, if we adopt the bylaw, the difference is, so if there was an emergency tomorrow and we don't have this bylaw in place, I have to go to the province and have them, tell them I need to declare a state of emergency because we don't have a bylaw that says that I can do it.
Fair.
Other than that, The only difference is with our own bylaw, we can modify the language so that if you're saying, I don't understand what that means, can you make it clearer? If we just refer to the act, or we just default to the act, I should say, we can't change any language. So if it's not clear to you,
We have no say at that point.
sorry, I
The
can't.
province will do what they want.
Right.
So not being for or against, but just being a middle ground and devil's advocate, if you will. With the wording of what the, and with this, maybe it can't be answered tonight, but with the wording of what the province stipulates now, if we were to amend that and have our own, could we come up with 3 or 4 key points of that amendment benefiting our Maple Hills community? That's the question, I guess. We'll just answer it as you will.
Okay, so, so the notes that I've written tonight are that the public would like to see if there's anything we can do about the indemnity clause, which, again, we'd have to talk to the lawyers because I have no idea. Like insurance, I'm not the subject matter expert on those topics. So it would not even be reasonable for me to say, sure, we could change that. I really don't know. Beyond that, though, with the question, like with the comments that have been made, it seems to me that the majority of the room doesn't want us to adopt the bylaw, in which case we would just default to the Emergencies Act and there won't be any modifications made to anything. So do we have any?
If I could just say again, I guess clearly, if I wasn't clearly, the question was, and it's not for or against, it's just the middle
Yeah,
ground.
sure.
If we stay with the province, this meeting's done. We're done. We don't have to do anything. If we did change the bylaw to amend it to better suit Maple Hills, what would be the positive 3 things that would come out of a change that would benefit Maple Hills?
So number 1 would be that we, as a council, can declare the state of emergency without going to the province, which could potentially mean that we could respond to the emergency faster. But the other reason for doing it was transparency, so that you guys were all aware of what was happening, and we didn't just say, so this is what applies, but we're just not going to talk about it. And the third thing was that we could modify the language if you didn't feel it was clear enough so that you could understand it better. Those would be the 3 reasons that we would.
And understandably so, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Madam Mayor.
that's okay.
But I guess in point form, there are a number of things in the Provincial Emergencies Act. If we could clarify 3 things that's in there that we would change to benefit Maple Hills, other than being able to call our own emergency sooner, 24 hours sooner, could be a desperate time. That is a good point. We now have a little more control of what we do here, I get that. What are another couple points of things we may consider to change in the provincial? Again, we want the benefit of Maple Hills. And that's not for or against changing or not changing, but that's just a question. If we adopt what they've got, we take what they got. If we change it, what do we change that benefits Maple Hills? Besides being able to call our own emergency when we see fit.
So the reasons I just gave were the reasons that we felt it was a good idea to adopt the bylaw. The reason we didn't just say, okay, never mind, we won't adopt one, was so that people would come and give us feedback. So we're not set on, because we want to change this or we want to change that. We want to have a dialogue where we might be able to make it so that it's something easier to understand. So if we were going to proceed with the bylaw, I guess that would be an opportunity for somebody to tell us what they'd like to see us. I mean, I don't want to say do differently but word differently or explain better or, are we allowed to change it? Is it something we can change?
Okay.
Sure, Garni. Garni Wiseman. Hammond Road.
I get the impression, Garni Wiseman from the Ammon Road, I get the impression that you guys have taken on everything the government used to do and be responsible for in this area, except the highways, okay? They have dumped on you all of their responsibilities, basically, and now you have to handle it. They give you a budget you got to work with. You made a comment earlier that if you didn't have enough in the budget, well, then we'd have to maybe put it in at a later date or something if people had a claim. Are you saying, the council saying, that the government has no more responsibility to a homeowner of whatever debt they may incur because of a disaster, instead of it going to be your responsibility because you have a budget and that's all you have to work with? will the government not be still responsible? I can't understand a room of this size with this many people. I don't even know, we obviously have an MLA, but it's the government that should be here. Our MLA should be here, whoever that is. Maybe he's there, but he hasn't spoken yet. But I think he should be, or she, excuse me, she. My apology, but that's how bad it is. I am quite involved with politics. I didn't know it was he or she, but if we know it is a she, yes.
No. Yours is a he.
Oh, there's two.
Yeah, there's two. Yeah.
Okay, well then
Yeah.
two. But the two of them should be here.
So-
Really, they're the ones that are responsible to us as homeowners. But they have dumped the responsibility on you people. So if you're going to have to take it, do you not have to take it knowing that you would have a budget for whatever the expense would be that was incurred by whoever, that the monies would be from the government, and not say, well, sorry, Maple Hills is a little sly on cash, so we'll have to put it in next year's budget. But, but I understand that you have to do what has already been done and is in the books. It's been there for the government to do, and maybe they haven't had to show their hand of what authority they have. But you're just taking on what they're saying, here's what we expect you to do. And I agree with this gentleman, yes, maybe we could critique 2 or 3 things that would pertain to Maple Hills, and that is something that was asked earlier by a couple of other individuals, that we would have our own constitution critiqued only. We can't change it. The law is there, it's been there, and there's no difference. But there has to be some differences possibly that pertain to Maple Hills that may not pertain to another community. Instead of the government's typically saying, it's a flat rate, this is what we're going, this is how we're going to change things,
So I think, so your comments about us paying, so I said it when I was speaking here, and I think I've said it a couple other times too, but I'll just repeat it anyway. So when I spoke to the Minister of Public Safety and we were talking about this, about the emergency bylaw, I had said to him about indemnity, and he had said that he has never heard of, and had asked about previous, like before he was the minister, had never heard of the province not reimbursing. So my comments were simply, if the province said no, but and council felt that that wasn't that was unreasonable, that it's possible that we could reimburse, but it might not be in the budget. I think that you're probably not going to find very many instances where the province wouldn't reimburse anyway. So I guess it's kind of for us to, let's say we went to the MLA and complained about it, they can't give us an example of where they didn't do it, so I don't know that it's something that makes sense to.
And I apologize, not apologize, but I understand what you're now saying, because a while ago when you spoke as though it would have to be your budget that was going to be responsible, I thought this is, no.
I just said that I felt that this council,
Okay,
if the
yes.
province happened to say no, would probably take that responsibility on, because someone said it earlier, we live here too. We're not out here to take your stuff or ruin your stuff, we wouldn't want it to happen to us either.
Okay, anyway, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Garni. Okay, so what's my One more. Okay, so we'll take 2 more because we still have somebody waiting to do a presentation. Okay, so this gentleman here and this fellow back here with the green hat, I saw both your hands up, so we'll take you 2 and then the presentation person didn't already speak, right? We didn't mess that up? No. Okay.
Hi, my name is Darrell Embry. I live here on Scott Sullivan Road. I've never heard of any of these meetings that have happened all along. I'm not a technology person. I don't text, I don't email. So how do I get information on this? Because I just happened to hear from a neighbor just by accident. So why can't they put something in the mailboxes for other people like myself? Because I'm sure there's a lot of other people that know nothing about these closed doors.
So I actually had that in this paper and I skipped over it because this was taking a long time.
Yeah.
So we sent out a quarterly newsletter.
I got none.
The quarterly newsletter to send out is $5,000. It's $2,500 to print and $2,500 for postage. So We budget to do that quarterly, and it lists the next 3 or 4 meetings in it, and because we don't want to spend your tax dollars sending stuff in the mail. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, but I've had a number of people say to me, why don't you send us stuff in the mail? And I said, well, what about the newsletter? And the answer I got was, oh, I didn't read that, I threw it in the garbage. Well, that, I really don't want to spend your tax dollars on that now. So even a one-page announcement, what did we say it was, $2,500 for a one-page announcement? So we do that, so if we do that, let's say we did it once a month, that's $2,500.
Somebody puts it in with a flyer or something like that.
So,
And once a week, somebody can drop by and get their newsletter. Why do you have to mail it? That way.
I mean, so we still have to print them and put them out. Okay, so first of all, we're getting like all over the place. We're happy to take other suggestions for communication that you might want us to look at before the next budget. Our budget's in November. Our budget's in November. If you'd like to call us, send us an email, let us know what other ways you'd like us to look at communicating so that we could look into it, see what it would cost, put it in the budget. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys that there was an assessment freeze and we were asked not to put up tax rates. So we're trying really hard not to add anything new to your budget this year because we don't want to put your taxes up. And we're not getting the assessment increases that we've been getting the last few years. So I'm not sure how much we can add, but I would be happy to have the suggestions so that we could look into them and see if there was something else we could be doing. And then, sorry, that was your only question, right? Okay. All right, so the gentleman in the green hat? Yep.
Not as tall as the others. Red Sherwood, Isaiah Road, and Gallagher Ridge.
Okay.
I think a lot of people's concerns here today have to do with if you come onto the property, you take the tractor, what happens if you destroy the well? What happens if you take all the groundwater? That makes the property uninhabitable at that point. I think you need to add language to your proposal, your bylaw, that covers that compensation back to the individual. You also referenced a document about existing bylaws with the New Brunswick government. You talked about a 1978 version, I think it was. There's actually a 2011 version, and there's a clause in there that describes a process for remuneration to the property owners.
Okay.
So you don't have that in yours?
So actually what I said was it's been in effect since 1978.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say that we were still using the one from 1978. That was just when the original was adopted.
Okay.
Sorry.
So if you change the language to include compensation back to the homeowners, back to the property owners, whether it's for a tractor, whether it's for a well, I think that would help with the conversation here and kind of ease some people's concerns.
Okay.
That's all I got.
So like I said, I think as we go through this, we'll have the vote to how to proceed with the bylaw. And if we choose not to proceed, then there won't be any amendments. So I guess it'll kind of depend on how the meeting
So
proceeds.
the provincial one that's currently on the books at from a 2011 document would then still be valid.
Right. If we don't adopt the one that we had proposed, then.
Okay. That's all I had.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, can I just provide more clarification?
Sure. Oh, excuse me, guys. CAO Downey would like to offer a little more.
I just because the tractor comment keeps coming up. Part of the emergency measures planning committee, one of the things that we want to do is build an asset inventory of things that people have. So those would be the first people called if they want. If there's somebody that wants to, has a tractor, then we know exactly. Sorry? So if there's people that have horses, we want to have like a list of where the horses are so we know.
Guys, can we quiet down so everybody can hear Hannah? Okay. Sorry, Mr. Hennessy, Mr. Hennessy, you've interrupted a number of times. I'm trying to keep order. I'm sorry. I know I have to be the bad guy because I'm the one that has to try, but the CAO is trying to give an answer and she's being talked over. No, she was answering the question from the last gentleman who was at the podium. Yep, he just asked a question about tractors and wells.
Yeah, just because the tractor comment keeps coming up. It was supposed to be a positive thing to build an asset inventory for the people that want to help if there's an emergency. Because with the last wildfire, we did see people reach out to say, I've got this trailer, I've got this, if I can help. So those are the people that we would rather turn to rather than showing up on somebody's property. There's people that actually want to put their stuff out to say, call me if you need a backhoe, I've got this. I know that there's a lot of reluctance and hesitation, but there are also people that want to help. Those are the first people we want to be able to call and rely on, are the people that want to help, not the people that are reluctant. That's all.
Okay.
Voluntary.
So what she's saying is that the Emergency Measures Committee will be creating that list, and they will be reaching out to residents to see if they want to be on the list, is what she's saying. That will be part of the Emergency Measures Committee's tasks, let's say. So they will be conducting that, I don't want to call it a study, but task. Okay, so we have petition, request, and/or delegation, and one of the presenters was unable to be here this evening, but Serge Robichaud had put in a request to speak. Serge Robichaud. Oh, sorry.
I'm here.
Oh.
Okay. Lot to say here.
Oh, excuse me, sorry, just before we start. So the presentations have a 5 minute, so do you mind running, just let him know when he gets to say 4.5?
If I have a hard stop, I'm going to go to the conclusion before I read the body.
Sure.
Okay. What emergency might we be facing in Maple Hills? The WHO, World Health Organization, is looking for another excuse to attempt mandatory vaccines. It is also musing at declaring a climate emergency. Prime Minister Mark Carney is also talking climate emergency. He is personally heavily invested in the carbon trading industry. I have two requests. One is that you relook at A10, and you're going to do it. The other one is I want equal time as you gave the New Brunswick Environmental Network to rebuke their claim of a climate crisis and the need to decarbonize. This is a slippery slope. Some other communities across Canada were given that they have to decarbonize their community. So we all burn firewood. And you go to the government website of what they mean by decarbonizing, and it's increasing taxation. And some communities have been forced to buy carbon credits because their community could not meet the decarbonizing targets that were given to them. Okay? So anyway, that's a different topic, but it's something everybody here should be concerned about for the abuse of emergency powers and other powers. Okay, now, you talked about 2020, we declared, the province declared an emergency. We know why, okay? And one of the leading experts on emergency measures organization is David Redman. He's highly qualified to speak on the matter. He was a former military colonel. He was hired by Alberta to revamp their emergency measures after 9/11. And he was in contact with everybody, all the EMOs across the province. Now, he complained that during the pandemic, you know, like the principles of an emergency measures is do not create panic, gather all the needed information to identify the threats and devise a response, minimize disruption to society and business, and a constant reassessment of what's going on. With this in mind, Here's what abuse looks like. When the pandemic was started, Justin Trudeau phoned his provincial premiers. The emergency measures organization were casted aside. Trudeau told him he was going to run it his way, and he gave him money to implement his plan. He doubled the national debt while he was doing it. What they did, they created fear, confusion, panic, isolation, locked down and destroyed businesses. They sidelined and demonized the doctors and scientists who pointed out the errors in their policies. What we had was depression, suicide, and drug overdose. They all escalated. Now, I'd like to point out about the World Health Organization. I did a search of this outfit, and what came up was a video of 2019 where our Chief Medical Officer of Health, Theresa Tam, was in a meeting in Geneva. This is a year before the pandemic, and they're discussing the possibility of a massive vaccination program. She was speaking on a panel, and she says, Canada already had earmarked $25 million to get a vaccination campaign underway. She made numerous behavioral science experiments on Canadians to learn how to persuade them to take the vaccines. She had used religious and social influencers. She had called executives at Twitter, Facebook, Google, and news organizations to get them all on side to push vaccines. She knows how to get 90% of the public to take a vaccine, and they can leverage 90% to force the remaining 10%. After this video, and the way the vaccines were actually rolled out, it's my conclusion that the COVID-19 pandemic was an international sales job. Many Canadians share this opinion. It's also my opinion that the WHO has criminal elements and they cannot be trusted.
Oh, excuse me.
That video is still on the internet. I checked it on the weekend. Remember how they kept moving the goalpost? 60% herd immunity, 80%.
Mr. Robichaud, your 5 minutes is up, so can you just wrap it up?
Yes, some people spoke longer than this. Then passports. Dr. Tam's behavioral science experiments never accounted for the truckers' revolt. The truckers' revolt was copied in other countries. It was copied in the US, New Zealand, Australia, and Europe. So the WHO never got to their 100% goal, but they didn't give up. They're revamping, they're regrouping, and I'm concerned that they might try this again. And I told you already my conclusion that we may have another vaccination campaign, emergency climate, and I have copies of the transcript for that video.
So, Mr. Robichaud, what is it that you're asking of council? I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay, I want equal time that you gave to New Brunswick Environmental Network to rebuke their claim of a climate crisis and the need to decarbonize.
So, Mr. Robichaud, so
It's
actually,
powers that they can use.
okay, everybody, let's take it down a little bit. Okay, so I'm just trying to understand, Mr. Robichaud, what it is you want from council. I don't want us to have missed something.
Okay, emergencies. The World Health Organization and Carney have talked about a climate emergency. So you have to force people to stop burning wood. We're in a climate panic.
What are you asking council to do, Mr. Robichaud?
I want equal time as New Brunswick New Environmental Network to rebuke the claims of... They were here on June 2nd with their presentation.
Yeah, sorry. I believe he's referring to the presentation that was provided about the Climate Adaptation 101.
Correct.
Yeah.
The slideshow, okay. So I'm happy to talk to you about that, but this evening, Hannah gave you a 5-minute presentation slot. I'm not saying I won't hear you
not
out.
today.
I just can't.
No.
Okay. But so you're asking at a council meeting, or you just want to meet with council? What is it you're?
Either.
Okay, so why don't we get your information and sure, you and I can have a conversation about that if you want. I'm open, I think it won't be a long conversation because yeah. I'm not, sorry, I'm just trying not to be disrespectful to the presenter we had. That's what I mean by that. I don't think that you're gonna find that I'm gonna argue with you about that presentation and your.
Yeah, but they reminded you that you have to decarbonize your community.
Actually, most of what she talked about was erosion, which we didn't understand why she presented that to us because we don't have a shoreline in Maple Hills.
I know. I saw the slides.
So, but please give us your information and you and I can absolutely have a conversation about that because I do think you're gonna find that council's not chasing that.
Good.
That initiative that woman was here.
Oh, good.
Our climate change adaptation plan that the province is requiring us to have is going to be wildfires, which I said earlier in the meeting, that's where we felt the focus should be.
Okay, then we don't need to have this.
Oh, okay. Wow, I'm glad we resolved that.
Somebody's having
Thank you.
It's already, is it not with the meeting? That's where you found it online, right?
Yes, you can go to the website of New Brunswick Environmental Network, and they
Oh.
have the whole plan
Not our
there.
website?
No.
You didn't, oh.
No.
okay.
On our website.
Sorry, I thought you found it on our website.
No.
No, sorry, no, that's a different, we're going to do a regional wildfire plan. He's asking about a presentation that we had from an organization a couple months ago. That's the presentation. We have nothing, we have never interacted with or had anything to do with the World Health Organization as a council. Nothing. Okay, okay, so those of you that have a paper agenda, there was an amendment made that is not on your paper. The next item that council wishes to address is the bylaw for the emergency planning and procedures. So there is, sorry, I'm just reading through what's here. Okay, so, excuse me, there's a motion on our tablets to proceed with a third reading. So do I have a mover to proceed with a third reading by summary of bylaw A-10? Mr. Hennessy, I'm going to ask you to please stop interrupting the meeting. We're chairing the meeting. I just can't have interruptions in the meeting. It's part of, again, I know I have to be the bad guy as the chair. Councillor Martin.
Can I make a motion to?
Oh,
My mic's not working. In light of all the information in the residence here, I'd like to make a motion to move this to a further date.
Okay, so we're asking for, I guess, a motion to not proceed with.
I'm having a hard time reading.
Sorry,
I'm gonna be honest with you.
what are you?
Can I read the motion for you and see if you want to make a change to that? It's that you would move the pending motion for the third and final reading of draft bylaw A-10 postponed to the next regular meeting in order to obtain further information.
Okay, so Councillor Martin wishes to move on that motion. Do I have a second on that motion? Seconded by Councillor Savoie. Okay, I usually try to summarize the motion. Okay. All those in favor of postponing the final reading of draft bylaw A-10 to the next regular meeting, show your consent by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No. Okay, do we have another motion on the floor on this topic? Okay,
Did I get 3 nays there?
yes. Okay, so my apologies, this is a first for us, so you can learn along with me. So we have two, so I understand that we can't proceed, I'm just, what is the?
Is there a councillor that would like to make another motion? That motion's defeated?
Okay, so there's no motions on this topic.
No, we go back to.
She just said, is there a counselor that would like to make another motion on this topic?
So we need a mover
Right.
for one of these.
So do I have a counselor who would like to make a motion on this topic? So we don't have any counselors that want to move on this topic. Okay, so back to my question to Hannah. No one wants to make, so I guess I'm just asking, how do we,
So we do need a motion to either proceed or to not proceed. We have the first and second reading done.
okay, so Counselor Esty, you're going to have to give us a motion because it's not going to be this. Okay. Yeah, yours isn't working, so.
I move that we proceed with the original third reading by summary of bylaw A10, a bylaw relating to municipal emergency measures plan.
Okay, so do I have a seconder on the motion to proceed with the third reading of the bylaw?
I'll second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Jean Gras.
Before that vote's made, you understand your community is here. I don't know where you
No,
represent.
just relax, relax.
Gunpowder dry, apologize.
Okay. Okay, folks, please. Okay. Are we ready for the question?
Question.
We'll now proceed with the vote. All those in favor of adopting the third reading by summary and by title, or sorry, by summary of bylaw A10, show your consent by saying yes.
I'm sorry, proceed to the reading, not approve.
That's what I said. Proceed to the third reading by summary of bylaw A10. Okay, let's try this again. All those in favor of proceeding with the third reading by summary of bylaw A10, show your consent by saying yes. Opposed, no.
Nay.
Okay. So just so everyone understands, they put the motion on the floor and seconded it so it could be defeated. That's what they were doing. They weren't trying to say they were going to do it. Just so everybody's clear. Nobody chase them into the parking lot, please.
So was it a unanimous
It was a unanimous nay.
Too much came up from.
Nay and nay, okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So we will now move to council member reports. And I don't have my book in front of me, so I'm just going to go around the table because there is an order in my book and I don't have my book. So Councillor Savoy, do you have a report for this evening? You need you to use your mic, bud.
Okay, a lot has happened since my last report. Amongst other things, I have taken on a seat on the executive board of UMNB, that's the Union of Municipality in New Brunswick, as Zone 2 Director representing villages and rural municipalities. I also had the pleasure to represent the municipality at a fundraising golf tournament held for the Louisville Hockey Association, for which we gave a grant because a lot of the kids from our municipality, that's where they play hockey. The event was held in Country Meadows, which is at the other end of our municipality. Thank you to Deputy Mayor Jean Gras, who spent his Sunday afternoon with me at that event. We also hosted a corn boil for the Irishtown Community Center last Sunday. It was great success. We handed out over 260 ears of corn. Huge thank you to Michaud Farm, who donated most of the corn. A big shout out to my lovely fiancée Kathy, who helped me feed the crowd, and to my fellow councilors who were present. On a somber and sad note, a young family from our neighboring community of Chandaret, actually not too far from here, has suffered the worst possible loss this past Sunday. The eldest son lost his life in an accident. I work with the father, and I would like to offer the family my deepest sympathy. Also use the opportunity to remind everybody to use these stretch of roads and any stretch of roads in the municipality that we don't have sidewalks. Whether you travel along by foot, by bicycle, by motorized vehicle, please use extreme safety. In closing, I'd like to, this opportunity also to talk about the upcoming budget season. This coming budget will be tough for us. The cost of some of our services are still going up, but the province decided to freeze the evaluations for 2026, thus limiting our revenue for the coming year. Being a small and young municipality, we're limited with resources and services and do not have a lot of fat to cut from in our books. Although I believe we have to proceed with extreme caution when spending taxpayers' money, I also think that we may have to increase our tax rate. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure.
Come and get closer.
There we go. Just want to add to Councillor Savoie, so the young fellow that passed away in the accident, there is a GoFundMe page set up. If anyone would like to make a donation, I do not know the family personally, but as we all know, he was doing something the majority of us have done growing up in the area. And obviously being of such a young age, it hits home to a lot of people here, and it's close enough to all of us that it could have been one of us or one of our kids. Talking about Family Fun Day, it was another good turnout. A lot of families come out. A lot of people were happy. A lot of people were talking about the community and the feel and the vibe that's coming back to the area. Someone that grew up here and know what it was like before, it's nice to see a lot of the families come out, young families and new families actually as well, so the old families. On top of that, we had, apparently we're going to have a washer toss. We're going to might have a washer toss league in the area, I guess. I would like to also add that we do still have the trails in behind. Trail Committee will be putting something out here relatively short notice to help improve the trails for the community as well that's already existing there. It's just to improve them. There is approximately 3 kilometers of the trails on the property that have been here for decades. It's just to bring that back. On top of that, I just want to say big thank you for everyone that came out today when all this come out. It is difficult, even coming from the forest fire that took place. Some people post snippets on social media without the full reasoning of what's going on. The fire was one indication of that. This happened again. I did feel, I know all the other councillors and staff did field a considerable amount of phone calls and people stopping by our own homes and stuff like that to have conversations, which is good, which is what this is all about. Regardless of where anyone sits on a topic, the point of it is to come out, voice your opinion, and see where it goes from there. That's all I really have to say.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Jean.
I love this turnout today, and I had said to a couple of people before it got overly crowded that this is as much a part of democracy as voting. So I was glad to see this turnout. My statement has nothing to do about what was being discussed today because I think we've gone through a lot of that. But last Tuesday, the mayor and I attended a public safety event hosted by the Minister of Public Safety, Robert Gauvin, and he made a presentation, or he was taking questions from elected municipal officials from throughout southeast New Brunswick. And when I had the opportunity to speak, I discussed how in the western part of Maple Hills, many of our Anglophone high school children, they go to Harrison Trimble High School. And this includes 2 of my own, and as well as my wife being one of the vice principals. So while we have dinner conversations in our house, urban concerns often intrude on our conversations. And the reason for those is mostly a homeless shelter on Mark Avenue, which is adjacent to the school. So those who use the facility have access to free needles, and drug dealers park just outside on the street. And residents that use those drugs, they drop their needles and pipes on the parking lot of the school. They destroy school property, and they steal anything and everything that's not locked down, and even then, doesn't stop them. So there are countless holes put in the fence. You know, there are people passing out on the football field, And even on one occasion, my wife has told me that they had to call 911 and revive someone who was as pretty much close to death as you could get because he had OD'd on the front steps of the school. So also in attendance at this meeting was the Minister of Justice, and he's also the Attorney General and the Minister responsible for addictions and mental health, Minister Rob McKee. He's also the MLA for the high school and for the facility. And also present was one of our MLAs in Maple Hills, as well as Kodiak and Caledonia RCMP, and the acting mayor and acting deputy mayor of the city of Moncton. So really, if they were going to solve a problem, we had all the right people in that room to do it. So I was relieved to hear Minister Gauvin say that there's a zero tolerance for such facilities being next to a school. And it's a facility that was open during COVID, and the decision to place it there was likely influenced by that. Its placement is a COVID remnant, and I certainly hope the province will recognize this as such and rectify the situation. So today the province made an announcement regarding the creation of a ministerial task force on homelessness, so hopefully they take into account the Mark Avenue facility. So in the meantime, I'll be working with the mayor and my fellow councillors to seek an update from the ministers, and I look forward to providing this information to residents as we work to keep our children safe in Moncton. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Esty. Oh.
So this meeting was our best attended meeting so far. Obviously, the main reason for the turnout was the emergency measures. Over the past several weeks, we've received dozens of phone calls. People spoke with us. We saw a lot of stuff on social media. And I want to thank everyone who took the time to do so. Your encouragement is important and is part of the process of what we do. So I guess I want to clarify how things come across our desk. When we debate a bylaw or a policy, it's not like we as councillors are running around looking for things to vote on. Generally, they're brought to us. We generally don't have knowledge that they're coming other than when we look at the agenda a couple days before the meeting. They sometimes stem from the province. They can also stem from other places. So it's our responsibility as a council to review them, debate them, listen to the residents, and then vote accordingly. So with that in mind, just because something is on the agenda doesn't mean that we as council support it. It just means that it's been put in front of us to debate, look at, discuss, and vote on. If you were to look at the video from our last meeting, the term "we" was used a lot with the emergency measures. I was speaking somewhat scathingly about it, so I don't feel like we, I wouldn't want to include myself in this "we." So again, just because something's on our agenda doesn't mean that we as councillors are all for it and we're pushing to have it on there. Sometimes it comes to us and then we're trying to act in the best way for the residents, which I feel that happened tonight. So, thank you for all your feedback. And also I want to share the sentiments of the budget. I'm a CPA and I'm a business owner. And when I was campaigning at large, I'm a councillor at large. The things I heard the most from everybody was, leave us alone, don't change our way of life, and don't raise our taxes. And that's exactly how I vote, and that's how my voting record has been. And with this budget season coming up, it's going to be about austerity. I'm not going to want to see main services cut. I do encourage all of you to come out to as many budget meetings as possible because I'll be leading big austerity measures. And I'd like support of residents on that because I feel like it's important, especially where the property tax assessments have been frozen and the cost of services are going to be going up. So we are going to have some tough conversations about where to cut because we don't have a lot to, but places we do, we can. And I intend on at least trying to move that way. So again, thank you for all in attendance, and have a good night.
Okay, piggyback on a couple things. So, Family Fun Day was a great time. Anyone that came out, I think a lot of families and kids, especially from all over the area, they really use that as a good day to get out and see the area and whatnot. So, if anyone's ever looking to get involved in that kind of stuff, in any walk of life for any organization, volunteers are needed, no matter what it is. If you can volunteer, please volunteer. It's the biggest thing you can do. Secondly, just to touch on something Councillor Esty just mentioned, when we started this whole thing with being councillors, one of the things we were told was just no matter if you support or do not support something, you hear it out. You hear it through the readings. That way you get as much information as possible. We've went back and forth on multiple things. Council doesn't agree on everything all the time. And going through this process is how we get here. Debating and talking and having conversations is one of the most important things we can all do. But that's why we get to this point. Once again, wasn't that we were going to do it or not do it. It was just because that's how we do this, is we try to get as far along in the process, and then we make the final vote. Once again, and we've done it for multiple things. If you go back through the records, whether it's rezoning, once again, other things, we've always tried to listen to all the options, and that's the way you do it, is if you get through the process. What was the other thing I was going to mention? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So,
Okay. Well, I didn't prepare a report because I talked way too much at the start of the meeting. But I do have one thing to say. Somebody commented, I believe it was this gentleman here, thank you for hosting us. This is your building. We're not hosting. You're welcome here anytime. So anytime there's a meeting, you don't need an invite. You don't even have to be upset. You can come if you're happy to. But please, please come back.
The one other thing I was going to mention is, because the other councillors were talking about it, we always want to hear from you guys. And I've mentioned it on social media multiple times, whether it's through the fire or through this. All of our phones are on, our phone numbers, our email addresses, everything's online. We see a lot of comments online and people talking about stuff. And a lot of times it's not necessarily the right information that should be out there, and then it just gets passed along. With this stuff, once again, call us, email us, whatever it is, we're all available. All of our information is on the website. If you call the office, Hannah or somebody here can give you our information. Once again, call us. Instead of just wondering what's going on and making posts, if you give us a call or contact us, I think everyone here would be more than welcome to talk to any of you guys that have any questions or concerns. So that was my last thing. Sorry.
So thank you all for coming. If you give us a few minutes, there's only a couple of things left, and we could maybe actually talk to you in person and shake your hands. Yeah, we've got 2 topics left, and
I
now.
know this is out of order totally, but I have to say it. This is representing our fire chief. We have probably, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best fire protection in this area that we could possibly have, even though we're outside of the city. I know, but I'll tell you, in anything that I've seen happen on our road in particular, I would never have anything but positive to say about our fire department. Thank you very much, sir, on behalf.
There you go. Okay, so we actually have 2 items left. Please stay and listen, but if it's too hot in here for you, I get it. Wait for us outside. Yeah, it's pretty warm. Okay, so the 2 items left are the municipal capital borrowing board items. So Hannah, because I'm sure a number of these people weren't at the last meeting that we discussed this, if you'd like to give some background before we carry on with this one.
Absolutely. So we are proceeding with a I guess, a drainage and parking lot upgrade around this building and the Irishtown Community Center building. We're using what's called Canada Community Building Fund funding, which is a federal fund, but it's administered through the province. So this is a guaranteed revenue for the local government of Maple Hills. And in order for us to carry out or spend that money, we have to have interim financing because the money comes back in payments. So in order for us to be able to get interim financing, it requires a motion of council. So I've presented a motion for council to adopt. So the important thing to know about this is it's interim financing not to exceed 5 years. So we'll hold this loan over the maximum period of 5 years because we do have to be compliant with our ministerial order that allowed this interim financing. So that's why it's listed as 5 years. So over the 5 years, we'll have the payments come from the Canada Community Building Fund to pay back this loan.
Okay. So, oh, yeah, okay.
Is that clear?
Yeah.
Used to be the
Yeah, it
Used
used
to
to
be
be,
gas tax,
used to be
sorry,
the
yeah.
gas tax, and there are specific things that it can be used for. Like, a lot of it's infrastructure, which this municipality doesn't have a lot of, yet recreation. But in building this building, there are some challenges with this parking lot in that it was not set up to drain properly, and we are concerned about, you know, flooding and things in this building because of the way this parking lot now drains. And it's, with the traffic in this parking lot, it's becoming very difficult to maintain as it is. There's a lot of potholes, it's really rough. We've actually had a car damaged relatively seriously, so.
A couple of cars now.
So we don't have a whole lot of other projects on the go right now that, well, actually, we don't have any that would qualify for this funding, so. Oh, yes, yes. So the funding that is available is 1.8, and we are spending $1 million of it on this particular project. So as the CAO said, we need to have interim financing to basically pay the money, and then they pay it back to us after the project has been completed. So, having said all that, do we have a mover on this motion? Moved by Councillor Savoy. Oh, maybe. Yep, okay.
Be it resolved that council requests interim financing for ministerial approval number 25-0043 for general government service and recreation and culture service for a term of not exceeding 5 years with CIBC for the amount not exceeding $1 million.
Do I have a seconder on that motion? Seconded by Councillor Murray. Are we ready for the question? We'll now proceed with the vote. All those in favor of proceeding with the interim financing motion that Councillor Savoy passed, show your consent by saying yes. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay, and our last item is a bylaw enforcement service proposal topic. So CAO Downey, did you want to give some?
I will give a little bit of background on this, and then I'll hand it back to council for decision. Sorry. Okay, so we had received a quote for bylaw enforcement services. So the only bylaw enforcement that this council wishes to enforce, something that's being handed down by the province beginning January 1st, 2026. It will be the responsibility of Maple Hills to handle dangerous or unsightly premises. Right now, those files are all handled at the provincial level. And that was one service that we have pushed off as long as we can before having to take it in our own hands. So obviously, there's no point of having a bylaw without bylaw enforcement. So we have a quote from one service provider, Maritime Enforcement Services. We actually had, Mayor Warren and I attended a meeting this afternoon with the Service Commission to see if there was a potential for cost sharing, if there was other municipalities that wanted to cost share in this. So I had presented a motion for council to consider. However, if we want to wait just a little bit longer, we'll have another number. It may even come that it's going to be about the same amount because we're we're asking for an 8-hour service a week. And there could be other benefits if going in with other municipalities other than cost sharing. It could be if we had 8 hours here and our 8 hours here are gonna be like every Thursday. And then somebody that we join in with, at the service commission level, they have something happening on a Thursday. There could be some flexibility where we're like, you know what, you can have our day, but we want your 8 hours that you have Monday. So we're gonna be getting the same thing, but there could be some benefits and hopefully, cost savings. I think it's probably the second or third time I've had it on an agenda, so I apologize, but if we can just wait, one more month, we'll have more information probably at the committee of the whole meeting, the beginning of October. And the motion will be very similar to what this one is. It's just, possibly the amount will change and there could be some wording different about maybe it will be paid through the service commission. So we'll discuss it at the cow and then, go from there.
So, sorry guys, but we had that meeting at 2:00 this afternoon, so that's why that's the update you're getting right now. So,
No.
Do we need to motion to table it?
No, we don't. This will show up in the minutes as, that I was reviewing the proposal with you guys again. I think there was something else that I wanted to say when Mr. Hennessy spoke up. It was, the other benefit of maritime enforcement services was if we had, an event like we had at, Family Fun Day, they do offer the services. Like if there was an event and we had, we thought that there was gonna be concern with, the parking lot, or if we were having a huge event where we had to ask people to park at Mountain View and we're crossing the road, they could assist with events like that.
they did indicate though, if we'd have thought this crowd was gonna get rowdy, they don't do that service. They were pretty clear about that, they don't do that.
But the proposal is specific to providing bylaw enforcement services to dangerous or unsightly premises, not a, emergency bylaw or something like that.
So I guess at this point, we can just have this item move to the next, if we have the information by committee of the whole, we can discuss it at that committee of the whole meeting. Okay, so do we have any unfinished business, CAO Downey?
No, we do not.
Okay, so at this time, it would take a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Esty. Motion.
Surprise, surprise.
Sorry, it's an inside joke.
Is that to do with dangerous premises?
Yes.
Like if a house is not safe?
If the house is like derelict, if there's a risk for fire, if it's abandoned.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I just wondered if there's a time that I could come and talk with 2 or 3 of you people.
Absolutely.
Wednesday?
Well, did you want to meet with the mayor and myself, or?
Well, that would be fine as far as I'm concerned. I just have concerns. I understood in order to speak tonight, you had to be registered. And I wasn't registered, so I didn't go to the mic. I would like to, I have some questions.
Absolutely. Do you want to meet tonight?
I would prefer another time. I should get home.
Okay. I'm gonna give you my card.
Okay.
Let me actually just go grab it.